Start Your Dungeons is now sponsored by Level Up Games, the largest and best board game, role playing, miniature games, collectible card game, hobby, and nerd store in Georgia. With a wide variety of events and product lines, Level Up Games is sure to have the product for every gamer you know. With 3 convenient locations in Duluth, Johns Creek, and Athens, there's bound to be a store near you. Plus, they ship anywhere in the U.S. from their online shop at levelupgamesatl.com. Thanks for sponsoring the channel, Level Up Games, and check out their event calendar and online store at the link in the description.
Hello everyone, welcome to Start Your Dungeons. I'm Adam.
I'm Bryce.
And today, Bryce is going to tell us about Bushido.
Bushido, I want to make sure, Bushido Risen Sun, because that is the new edition of it. It's the old edition, which is called
yeah,
Bushido.
this has been out, well, the first edition's been out for a long time.
Right, and the second's been out for a few years now.
Okay.
I like this game a lot, and I kind of I've kind of skirted it a little bit and been like, pick it up slowly, get out of it, pick it up slowly, get out of it. And then I saw a way to pick up the 2-player starter set. One of my local buddies, David, was like, I'm really interested in checking it out. So I picked up the new 2-player starter set. And to be clear, there are actually two player starter sets for Risen Sun. So the original one comes with 3 metal models on each side. And it was for 2 separate factions, the Ito and the Ryu. This is with 10 models.
Resin.
And they're resin now, which is a huge jump because they used to be metal models and now they're moving completely to resin.
Okay.
So very cool kind of weird skirmish game set in ancient like Japan with yokai and all kinds of stuff. It's a really cool sort of game.
So what comes in the box?
So this lovely box retails for, so it's €80. I think I paid 85.90 for my copy. You get 10 miniatures. What's really cool about this box set compared to other ones is these are all Ronin. So they can work for certain factions based on what's on the back of their card. So there's a force that you can make with 5 of the models and another theme force you can make with 5 of the other models and play them against each other. But what's cool is as a starting point, you get to learn the game, and then you have tons of options to expand whatever army you pick.
Okay.
And I think that's a really cool idea that I haven't seen anywhere else in a game. You get your stack of like enchantments and like event cards, which are like little bonuses you can buy. Your actual stat cards. You get 3 sheets of tokens. I will say this. I feel like the token sheets used to be thicker and a little bit thicker cardboard. These are really thin, and I'm kind of a little bit disappointed in that in regards. And then you get a rule book, a little A5 rule book. So.
Okay. So other than the possibility of the tokens not being like great thickness, what do you think about the overall quality of the materials that you get?
It was some of the best resin I've ever worked with. No mold lines.
Wow.
Didn't have a single mold line I had to scrape, I think, on anything. And they're very detailed. Like,
yeah, I mean, just from where I'm sitting, like they look really highly detailed.
And
like I can tell like lots of little details all over the
And what's great about them is, talking about assembly, most of them are 2 pieces max.
Nice.
So, like, this guy with all his little demons and ghosts, it's his body and his hands holding the ghost. And then this is the same thing. So it was really easy. I will say, because it's resin, a lot of flaking, a lot of dealing with that. In some cases, you have to scrape that off. And there are some bits that are still on, like, her, like, web stuff, because I just don't want to break it or mess with it too much. But it was really easy to assemble. It is resin, which means no plastic glue. You have to use super glue for it. But, yeah,
Be careful if you drop them.
Yeah.
Like, resin doesn't like to be dropped.
Right. These are, I mean, I'm kind of sad. Anyone who knows me, I'm a big metal model guy, so I was a little sad to see them moving towards the resin, but the metal models were as nice as this, or these resins are even better than their originals. So
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, what kind of... I mean, these were super easy to put together. Did you need any kind of special tools?
I clipped them out with my clippers. I scraped a little bit off the sprue. I mean, they're not on sprues really. Because they're resin. They're on those little like peg almost things that have and you use like one connection point, clip it off, and then do it. A lot of the connection points are so the bases are all slotted and they have little bases on the bottom. a lot of them were clipped right here. So I just clipped off the bottom of
you just
that,
have to do
put
that.
it in the slotted base and glued it, and it's
That's
ready
smart.
to go. Yeah, so really well designed and kind of easy to put together. I didn't have to do any sanding or anything for any of this. Like, again, really, I was impressed with how high the quality of this resin was.
Looks like they thought it out pretty well.
Right.
So, as for the cards that come in the box, are these easy to follow?
I'm going to say this about Bushido. I think it's a really cool game. There's a lot to it. So, this game is littered with keywords, littered with special abilities. I mean, there's just a lot to it. Looking at a card, it's kind of like, once you pick it up, like, everything is just kind of a stat, and then it's modifying your damage rolls or different things, and then usually it's like, all right, this is a reload 2 weapon. Okay, that makes sense. It takes me 2 actions to reload it. But when it gets weird, it's things like, I have prowess in melee 1. I have, spirit -1. I'm a tactician 1. I'm cowardly. I'm all these things. That's when the cards get crazy. But what's nice is, for any of the starter sets and any of the ones you buy for other ones, the back of the card tells you what your abilities are in
nice.
blue. So everything that you have on the back, any of your abilities in front you have on the front, they'll tell you what they are in the back. They don't do that for all their cards, but if you're learning the game, you don't have to flip through the rule book. You can just go, oh, I'm cowardly. What does that do again? I reroll a successful fear attack. Okay, cool. Like, I know what that does. And that's for every card for the characters. And that same thing applies to any of the starter sets you buy, which I think is really cool.
So how easy is it to get into this game?
I think the game itself is very simple. You have basically every model has 2 activations and like tokens, and you can do a simple action that takes one of your tokens and makes you exhaust. I think it's exhausted is the keyword. I forget exactly the wording for it, but it's you become exhausted, and then you have if you use a complex action, it takes both your actions.
Okay.
But what's cool about this game, and for me, is the actions themselves are pretty easy. What's also very interesting is a lot of the things let you move. So if I want to attack you, I move and then attack you, which is really cool about this game compared to other ones.
Kind of like with Hero Clicks,
Kind of,
where
yes.
you've got the I can't remember the name of the ability, but there's like a general ability that allows you to attack and move, and then there's all kinds of other little specials that might allow that.
But what's cool about this is, like, so before, when you do a ranged attack, you can move before or after you shoot. And
That's handy.
They also have charges still in this game for complex actions, which double your movement and let you do it. And then there's little bonuses. The thing that, like, to me, I think the core system is simple. I think the keyword stuff is where it gets really complicated at times. And then also, there's things called special attacks that you can reduce your dice pools to do things like, oh, I'm going to have less dice, but I'm going to be able to get out of melee combat with you afterwards. And I really like that, but it is a lot when you first pick up to go, what does a stun attack do? What does a, sidestep defense ability do? What does that mean? That's really, I think, what it is. And again, I don't think the game is hard. I actually think once you pick it up, it's like, wow, this is really easy. But I think when you're looking at the cards, you're like, this is so much on a card compared to a lot of other games.
Yeah.
But you learn it over time.
So you mentioned the keywords. What about symbols? Are there a lot of symbols to have to memorize?
No. There's no symbols really on the... I mean, there are some for, like, abilities. So your, like, key abilities will say, like, simple. If it's like a, aura, is that, can you use this ability while you're base to base? Can you use this ability once per turn? There's a few of those, and there's like about 6 of them, but that's kind of it. It really is just keyword heavy. And I know I keep saying that, but it is really, I think, the biggest learning curve of this game.
And that's something I need to know, because I have such a hard time remembering keywords and what those keywords indicate. So... I mean, for me, that's like a really big deciding factor over whether or not I'm going to play the game.
Absolutely.
So how long does it take to play a game of Bushido?
My teaching games have lasted less than an hour.
Huh.
It is a quick skirmish game. Once you get it down, it's pretty easy to play. I really like how easy it is and how quick it is to kind of get into it. once you get down the base mechanics. I think the last game I played, I was playing with my buddy David, and he like had played a few demo games with me, and I think we took like, we were shooting the crap back and forth about stuff, but like, I think our actual game took maybe 20 minutes. Like, it's very fast once you get it down.
Yeah. And he's also really experienced,
yeah.
so
yeah, I think
may also contribute to it.
Yeah, I think if you're a more experienced gamer, it makes sense. But like, the system is really, really different, which I think is interesting. So like, shooting is trying to hit target numbers, and then when you get plus or minus for that. But I think the coolest part of this game is melee combat. So whatever your melee stat is, when you're in melee combat, let's say you have a melee stat of 4, you have a set of attack dice and a set of defense dice. And you blind pick those and say to your opponent, I have 4 dice, and then I pick how many attack and how many defense dice I want. Because in melee, you strike back. And so what happens is you roll to reveal, and when you roll, you reveal what you had. So let's say I put 3 in attack and 1 in defense, right? And then the way the game works is all 1s are discarded. And then you take the highest value die. Let's say I rolled a 6, a 4, a 3, and let's say I rolled a 6, a 4, and a 1 on my attack, right? So I rolled 3 attack dice. Remove the 1. My highest number is a 6. And then I can add 2 additional dice to give it +1 that are successes as well. So that 4 adds to that 6 and becomes a 7.
Okay.
And then I compare that to your defense. Let's say you rolled a 5 on defense. I have 7 to 5. My degree of success is 2. And then I roll 2d6 on a damage chart. And depending on how much the degree of success is, I have higher chances of doing damage.
Okay.
Very cool system because you can be like, oh, well, I'm going to put a point into... You're attacking me with 2 dice. I'll put all mine into attack. Okay, well, I put 2 into attack and 2 into defense, so you don't get to defend, and now my success rate is 7, and I'm just going to cut you down even though you swung at me. That's a really cool system, and I actually really like that kind of back and forth of it.
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
So, is this a complete game?
No. So, you could play with this... as much as you want, which is really cool. The book comes with 3 specific scenarios you can play. The way they do scenarios is really cool in this game. So instead of it being where you score victory points every turn, the one I've been playing mostly is the one where there's 3 basically like lanterns, and you have to spend an action to turn it to your side. But if your opponent wants to turn it, they have to put it back to neutral before they can turn it back to their side.
Ooh, and so they have to spend a turn?
Yes. Okay. And then rounds 2, 4, and 6 are the only times you score. So
so that requires a lot of forethought.
Yeah, so there's a lot of forethought and control for that. And that's how most of the scenarios are. You only score at certain times of the game, depending on what round it is. And I really like that. There's a bunch of free ones you can get online, too, for, like, competitive play. But in terms of, like, you could play with this indefinitely.
Okay.
It's only 75 points, which is a quick game. Normally a game is 100 points of rice. It's called rice is, like, their thing that they do. But you could indefinitely technically play this. Like, which is kind of cool, but you're going to want to expand it.
So what do you need to expand this?
You pick a force. So, what's really cool is that every force that they have in the game is so vastly different. So, like, my personal faction is Minamoto. They're all the samurais, bear people, literally bears, I can play bears, and blacksmiths that live in the north, in the mountains. And so, what's cool, though, is they've really worked on developing themes for armies where I can say, hey, I'm going to take this army theme, which is only blacksmiths, and it lets me put commies in my list because they can summon fire spirits. Or I'm going to play only samurais, and then once per game I can give all my guys +1 strength. So, like, there's really cool kind of designs of how you want to do it. So you need to pick up a starter set for that. But what's cool is they also make these 100-point theme boxes for every faction. So if you're like, I want to play Temple of Rokan, and I really like the fact that there's a bunch of animals and animal people, there's a box set for that.
You just grab it.
And you just grab it, and you can go with that. They've got some really cool ideas, I think, for things. They just released a new faction that's literally spider people, and I think that's sick.
I like that.
Yeah, there's like spider human people. There's there's
may change my opinion about whether I jump in.
There's also like void monks. There's there's my other favorite one that I like is the Silver Moon Syndicate. They're all gamblers. So you have all the people who run the gambling dens, but they also are all the sumo wrestlers. Or someone like Savage Wave, which has a bunch of goblins or a bunch of oni, and so you can kind of mix and match how you play.
Okay.
So it's a really cool game. If you like this setting and theme,
the theme is definitely on point.
There's so much of that, and I think that's what's really cool about this game is like if you like something, you're like, man, I really love like Demon Oni. You can buy a starter. Like it's only 4 models, but it's still 4 really good models.
It's really cool. So who is this set for? Is this for new like war gamers, or is this for like the seasoned players?
I think it'd be for both. I think if you are a new one, you're going to struggle at first, right? Because of all the keywords. But I think if you can get through that, it's worth it. The other thing I'll say is, if you already play Bushido and don't own this is a killer deal. Because you get 10 new models that can play for different factions that you already own. And I think that's a really smart idea instead of just repackaging 2 starter boxes into 1 box. Because the only way I believe you can get these, at least as like a combined set, is in this.
Okay.
So I think if you're a more experienced experienced war gamer, you're going to be able to pick it up quickly once you get the actual keywords down. But I think if you're a new one, the system is really different from a lot of other ones. So, like, not having an experience in other games actually might be better for you some ways.
You don't have, like, you don't have, like, rules trying to fight in your head.
Right. Like,
which happens to me a lot.
I think the whole, you get to almost move every time you do something is very different.
Yeah.
I can walk into melee with you. Normally, that's a charge in a game. That's a specialty action. No, if I walk my move stat and get into melee with you, I can make a melee attack. Yeah. That's one action. That's very different from a lot of other games.
So, based on what you get in this set, are you going to keep playing?
I bought a Minamoto starter set, so yeah. And then David bought a Temple of Rokan one. So yeah, I really do like this game. I think it fits a really cool ground where, if anyone's heard me talk about it on this channel, I loved Guild Ball. This game reminds me a lot of Guild Ball in that movement and measurements and control are huge. And like stacking your odds is always a big part of this game too, because you get these things called key points that you can use for abilities, but also you can boost your dice pools by spending them as well. So like it's kind of like this like weird kind of control and trying to understand. I don't know. I like this game a lot, and I wish it was bigger here in the States because I think it would just blow up as like a very good. I don't think it's more of a casual game. I think it's very much a competitive sort of game. Yeah. But I think it's fun. Based on what I've said, what do you think?
I mean, I definitely have my reservations about playing just because of if there's a lot of keywords, it can probably bog me down. But I might buy it for the models.
Some cool models.
I mean, to be honest, like that, to paint some of these. I mean, even if I don't play it, like I might.
And it's not.
Because the setting is really appealing to me.
Right.
I love I love that aesthetic. Yeah. I think, especially with the quality of that resin, I might give it a try just for that.
Also, too, like they'd be perfect for like any role playing game, like
because they
Legend of the Five Rings or like like the Rokugan stuff. Like I think like if you like that sort of style, I think honestly, it's hard pressed to find miniatures in that style that are this high quality, and I think these are some of the better ones I've ever seen for that, and just nice sculpts overall.
Well, if you have any questions for us, if you have played this and want to talk about it, just leave your comments down below.
Yeah, tell us what your favorite faction is if you haven't checked it out. And remember, Minamoto get bears, so that's an auto win.
Awesome.
Anyway, until next time, y'all take care.
Bye.